Started talked about the Dodgers postseason plan. We got news and notes from the Dodgers workout yesterday. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMAC_LA. If you have not yet, be sure to subscribe to the Dodgers Nation YouTube channel for all the latest Dodgers news and rumors all postseason long. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And if you really want to support the channel, smash that like button. And today is a special day here at Dodgers Nation because joining me to preview this Dodgers D-backs matchup is Mr. Danny Vietti, CBS baseball analyst. Danny, thanks so much for rocking with us today, man.
Don't hype me up too much. I don't want to disappoint here, Doug. Thanks for having me.
Okay, look, no, if you're a fan of baseball, you're not doing this baseball fandom thing, right? Unless you're following Mr. Danny Vietti. Go follow him over on Twitter, man. But hey, Danny, look, first two games, you just got that postseason taste. I mean, I'm super juiced for this series against the Diamondbacks. And first thing I want to get into before I touch on this series is kind of get your perspective. One thing I love about your Twitter account, your presence, is you're following the entire league. Want to give you a shout out what you did up in Oakland earlier this year. That was fantastic. And just the presence, you have the perspective, because for me, I think the narrative among Dodgers fans is, oh, since they just won 100 games this season, when you look at it was a transition, a rebuilding year, there's this narrative that it's the little engine that could Dodgers. I'm like, they still have Freddie Friedman, who's baseball's version of fine wine, just continues to get better. You got peak Mookie Betts. Just talk about the perception that fans have of this Dodgers team, because there's still a ton of talent on the squad.
Without a doubt, the lineup's just as stacked as any other year. From the national perspective, I think a lot of us are thinking just in the media, like, wouldn't it be funny and ironic if this was the year the Dodgers did hoist a trophy, the so-called rebuild year? And it's the Dodgers. You don't really rebuild. They're kind of like Boston on the East Coast, New York on the East Coast. They're one of those firepower organizations that it's never a rebuild. It's more of a retool. So it would make sense, just the way that baseball goes, that the one year that they don't, maximize their payroll and so-called saving up to sign Ohtani in the offseason, wouldn't it be ironic and almost fitting when you consider the fact how weird baseball, especially postseason baseball, can be, that the Dodgers end up hoisting a trophy on the year that they're not really supposed to?
Yeah, Dan, that's what I've been trying to talk myself into is, look, we've tried the 111 win thing. We've tried the 106 win thing. We've tried the having peak Clayton Kershaw and peak Zach Greinke to front your rotation. Wouldn't it be something for the year that no one expected them to go all the way, that is the year they did it? And yesterday, Danny, I was at that workout yesterday, and it feels like there is such a focus and a fire with this team. They know what happened last year. They know that they are a team that always has a lot of pressure on them. If you saw that game, you had like 1,000 Dodgers fans there at a workout. There's more Dodgers fans at a Dodgers workout than the Rays got for a postseason game. I mean, the Rays would have to have a basically Evan Longoria retirement ceremony or Ben Zobrist bobblehead night to get that amount of fans at their game. No, I'm just only playing around. But when you talk about this Dodgers team and your big questions for them, is it the starting pitching? Is it the bullpen? Is it this lineup? Will they get cold again like they did in the DS? What's the big question you have for this team to have success ultimately in October?
It's the starting rotation, without a doubt. Just the health. I mean, losing an entire starting rotation to either injury or legal issues, that's tough to bounce back from. But you got to say this in the same breath, too. Atlanta's dealing with very similar issues to their rotation as well. You lose Charlie Morton to a finger issue, and right now Max Fried is coming back from a blister issue. And Fried was pitching well in their workout is either yesterday or the day before. So it doesn't seem to be as much of a major concern for Max Fried. But, blister issues can really linger. I mean, we saw Ohtani work through blister issues all season long. It can become a real issue. We saw yesterday, Duran with the Twins, he was able to battle through what seemingly was a blister issue. But those things can kind of come up and spark at any time. So I think for the Dodgers, yes, they have concerns with their starting rotation. I have no concerns with their lineup whatsoever. They're probably the deepest team, if not behind the Braves offensively. I think the bullpen's in a better position now than probably any of these deep postseason runs that the Dodgers have had in recent years. It's really just going to become a factor of how far can Lance Lynn pitch deep? Can he pitch deep in the ball games? How big will the moment be for a guy like Bobby Miller? And can Clayton Kershaw give him 5 to 6 dominant innings?
Absolutely. I think when you look at this bullpen, the trade-off for experience is, yeah, they don't have the experience, but they have those live arms. They have that type of velocity that plays up in the postseason. And to me, I think ignorance is bliss for these young guys. I mean, I was talking to Ryan Pepio yesterday, and they were saying, look, baseball is baseball. We understand that there's going to be a lot of pressure no matter what when you put on this Dodgers uniform. But I think there's more of a sense of excitement than nervousness. And I also think it helps that you have a lot of key veterans. You have Clayton Kershaw. You have Lance Lynn. You have Joe Kelly, guys that can really help bring these young guys along. So I'm excited about the bullpen. The lineup you talked about, they're fantastic. 1 through 6, I think they're as good as any team. And we know that Braves team, they're potent, they're explosive. But you talk about that Braves team, we're going to get into that a little bit, but I want to focus first on this Diamondbacks team. Because first thing I want to throw out of the window, Danny, is first thing I saw when this matchup was finalized yesterday and the D-backs clinched was, the Dodgers, they won 8 of 13 games against the Diamondbacks there. They should have a lot of success. They dominated them in the regular season. Last time I checked, the Dodgers went 14 of 19. They won 14 of 19 against the Padres last year, and we saw what happened. You can throw out those regular season records in the postseason. The Diamondbacks are a team that presents some problems, and I think it starts offensively. Me, heading into this series, I almost wanted to face that Brewers team because we know that on paper, one of the best staffs, right? You got Corbin Burns. You got Woodruff potentially in the NLDS. You got a Wade Miley, a Peralta, the bullpen with Devin Williams. But offensively, I think it could have been a softer landing for the Dodgers' young pitchers, their bullpen, and some of their starters. But talk about the biggest problem that this Diamondbacks team presents.
More so matchup wise. So there's a couple of hitters in the Arizona Diamondbacks lineup that have had a lot of success against Dodgers pitching. Corbin Carroll's 4 for 7 in his career with a couple ding dongs against Kershaw in his career. Christian Walker, his career in Dodger Stadium, it's been his best ballpark for whatever reason. He's got 15 home runs. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I think it's 15 home runs in Dodger Stadium in his career, which is the most of any ballpark, opposing ballpark for Christian Walker. He's got an OPS well over 1,000 as well. Ketel Marte has hit decent in his career. Lourdes Gurriel has not hit well. So those are kind of your top 4 offensive weapons for the Diamondbacks. I think the perspective for the Dodgers going into this, and Dave Roberts, of course, already knows this, but you cannot let their stars beat you because they're very top heavy in that lineup. Corbin Carroll's an absolute stud, poised beyond his years, mature beyond his years. Christian Walker is just a professional hitter. He's going to put up a professional at bat each and every time he steps to the dish. You cannot let those two guys beat you. If you have a guy like in the bottom of the order, if you want Thomas to take you deep, if you want even Gurriel to have you them beat you, so be it. But do not let Corbin Carroll come up with a second and third, 2 outs. Don't even let him swing the bat. Give him his free pass and let somebody else beat you.
Yeah, 100%. First thing I want to talk about, though, is Christian Walker, because for whatever reason, he turns into prime Barry Bonds when he faces the Dodgers. And you mentioned his success against LA, a career OPS in LA of over 800. Okay. I mean, you're talking about someone who's had a ton of success, 37 bombs against the Dodgers in his career. This year, though, hasn't had the same amount of success, a 594 OPS against LA this year, but he's always dangerous. Corbin Carroll is someone who, to me, he's already established himself, locked to win Rookie of the Year. He's someone that's a menace on the base pass. He looks like he's going to be a perennial all-star. I think you talk about this lineup top to bottom. I think they need some success. They need something out of Tommy Pham, from Gurriel, some of those guys that didn't have good starts in this postseason against that Brewers team. But do you think they have the length to score enough runs against this Dodgers team?
I mean, the way it stands, as long as you don't let Carroll or the aforementioned Walker beat you, right? Like, I think what a key X factor here too is will Gabriel Moreno be able to be on the field, because he suffered that head injury on the backswing in Game 2, and right now it's still kind of up in the air. During the celebration yesterday, they said he was looking okay, and that it didn't seem like he would be in concussion or at least have to be put on the concussion IL. They're still kind of going through protocol when it comes to head injuries, and that's obviously comes top of mind, and it should be first priority. But if Gabriel Moreno, who led the league this year in caught stealing percentage, if he's not on the field, the Dodgers can run wild on the bases. That can get them more opportunities for RBIs. It can give them more opportunities against a guy like Zach Gallen or Merrill Kelly, who do a really good job of just limiting base runners altogether. So I think a real X factor is going to be whether Moreno can be healthy or if he's not.
100%. That's going to be a big factor for them. And I think hopefully gives it a go. It hasn't been the Dodgers' MO to be too aggressive on the base pass in the postseason. They like to give up those outs. But I think that if it's there and the opportunity's there, they're going to absolutely exploit that. To me, I'm worried about that on the other end, how the Diamondbacks take advantage. Second in the league in stolen bases, 166 on the year. We saw in matchups earlier in the season that they tried to take advantage. And the Dodgers were one of the worst teams at holding runners. You just hope that they don't fall asleep at the wrong time because they're going to try to generate runs. They're going to try to wreak havoc early in games, get to Clayton Kershaw, get to some of these young starters, get to Lance Lynn potentially. When you look at the pitching side for this Arizona Diamondbacks team, Zach Gallen did not have a lot of success against the Dodgers this year, but he's still a bona fide ace. Start against the Brewers in the wild card round, very not effective early on as far as the pitch count. I think he had 32 pitches in his first inning. Then he settled down and he looked like it was Galentine's Day, right? He looked like that ace that was fantastic. Merrill Kelly is someone who feels like the only team he doesn't have success against is the Dodgers, but he did have a really solid start against them this year. Then after that, you kind of have to piecemeal it together, right? I mean, can't believe they let go Madison Bumgarner, one of the best postseason pitchers ever, right? I mean, of course, not at this stage of his career, but what can you say about the Diamondbacks pitching and how they're going to try to get it done against this ferocious Dodgers lineup?
It's funny you mentioned Bumgarner. I said the exact same thing on our last Wake and Rake episode. I said that to Willie. I said, I don't care that he's got a 10.2 ERA. You keep him on that 40-man roster until postseason time comes.
When the lights come on, right?
That's right. I mean, why not? No, I think they, at the end of the day, made the right decision. But so you look at the matchup, Diamondbacks, Dodgers, and how they fared in the regular season. One thing kind of stood out to me. I don't like looking at results in April. And the Diamondbacks were able to win 2 of 3, they split, it looks like, earlier in the season. You got to take into account the pitching matchups in the earlier season contests. So when you look at the Dodgers lost 5 of the 13 games against Arizona, 2 of them Syndergaard pitch. He's obviously not on the team anymore. Kershaw lost 1 of them, and it looks like Michael Grove started another one. So 3 of those 5 losses came against guys that are probably not going to be starting on the bump for the Dodgers. So that fares well for LA because, it's you got to take it with a grain of salt. As for Arizona, Kelly and Gallen pitched better against the Dodgers earlier on in the season, but then in that last series against them, or at least most recent one, the Dodgers swept Arizona, and it was Bobby Miller who beat Zach Gallen, and then it was Clayton Kershaw who bested Merrill Kelly in Game 2. So if you're looking to take anything away from the regular season matchups, you want to look to at least August because there's not a lot you could take away from matchups against Noah Syndergaard in April.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like 10 years ago, right? I mean, you have to take everything into consideration. Also, the fact that you go into Milwaukee, you win those first 2 games, became the first team since the 2009 Yankees to come back in a game where you're trailing by 3 runs to start a series. So they have done it. They are hot right now. And I think you look at this bullpen, what's impressed me is the guys they found on that bullpen. Thompson, Barnhart. I mean, their bullpen, I feel like, has more dudes than you realize. And I think really, all in all, they're ahead of schedule. There's not going to be a ton of pressure on this team heading into this matchup. And also, this Dodgers team, for whatever reason, they struggle to generate offense at Chase Field in Arizona. Hopefully, there'll be a strong contingency of Dodgers fans. But if they can find a way to get a split, you go on the road at Chase Field, things could get dicey.
I think if the series extends, because the best of 5 now is best of 3 in the wild cards, now it's best of 5 in the DS. I think if the Diamondbacks take Game 1 or Game 2, I would caution everybody and say that that's not such a bad thing for LA. What LA and perhaps the best quality that they've had for the last decade and a half is depth. And so you have a team like Arizona that has nothing to lose. They're a bit top heavy, both in their rotation and in their lineup, and even in their bullpen as well. So if this team extends, or if this series extends into 4 to 5 games, that's going to play well for the Dodgers because they have better bullpen depth. Maybe not so much starting pitching depth, but overall just better pitching depth in general. And they can mix and match against whoever Arizona throws their way. So yeah, Arizona's bullpen's kind of hot right now. They were able to throw, I think it was 7 shutout or 6 1/3 shutout innings in Game 1. And then they did a really nice job of cleaning things up for Gallen in Game 2 against the Brewers. But overall, if you're LA, I would just be careful. Don't be too skittish if things get off to a sour
Oh,
start.
we'll be skittish. If they split, they're going to be a lot of skittish. Okay. I mean, it's going to be hopefully all your friends around, CPR, because it's going to be tough to watch these games, because I think there's that fear factor that could creep in, like, oh, not this again. That's, to me, is the fear factor. You do not want to have history repeat itself. Then again, everyone points to last year and you look at the similarities. Okay, the Dodgers facing the number 2 team in the National League West, but then you can look at 2017 when the Dodgers had their way with this team. JD Martinez now on the right squad, right, with this Dodgers team. And I think that, to me, is the number one key. You mentioned this Diamondbacks bullpen. It was a tightrope act, man, throughout this series. I mean, they were getting out of jams, runners on first and second and third, no outs. I mean, they did a really nice job escaping those jams for these Arizona Diamondbacks pitchers. So can they do that against this Dodgers team that is proven? They have proven they can hit in the clutch. They have proved they can hit in big situations. And I just don't know that they can. I think the dam is going to break at some point for that Diamondbacks bullpen. You look at this Dodgers team, 359 2-out RBIs this season. They're second in 2-out homers and walks. I think that is going to be the recipe, is trying to get to these starters, get to Gallen, get to Kelly, get your way into this bullpen, generate runs, and then try to not win by 3-0. I mean, I think some 6-2 wins, right? Some 6-3 wins where you win convincingly with multiple home runs. But I will say, I find it very interesting with these days off, the fact that you have a team that goes into the wild card, which they had their disadvantage, right? Their disadvantage was having to go on the road and beat that Brewers team, a division winner. But now you get those days off that allows them to set up their rotation, and you get Kelly, who they didn't use in the wild card series, and you get Zach Gallen in game 2. I think that's advantageous. I'm not saying they're Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling or anything like that for this Diamondbacks team, but you have to feel pretty good about that if you're the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, the narrative around them, we kind of alluded to it already, is they have absolutely nothing to lose. But in that same breath, neither do the Dodgers this year either. And I know a lot of people might push back on that. It's the Dodgers. They should be contending for a title every single year. I get that. From the national media perspective, and that's what I can provide, is that not a lot of people were expecting the Dodgers to be a 2 seed necessarily. I think everybody expected the Dodgers to be in playoff contention because they are the Los Angeles Dodgers. But this is a so-called, as you mentioned, kind of a retooling year for them. So, yeah, if the Dodgers get knocked out round 1 by the Arizona Diamondbacks, bad luck. It's going to be disappointing. But at the end of the day, this was a so-called retooling year for the Dodgers. And so if they can make a deep run, they have nothing to lose this year. It's very similar to the Arizona Diamondbacks.
That sounds great. That makes you feel a little better. But I'm here to tell you, if the Dodgers lose to the Diamondbacks this series, after what happened last year, Dodgers fans are going to riot. Dodgers fans are going to turn that hot seat all the way up on Dave Robertson, Andrew Friedman. And yes, they have exceeded expectations. There is no doubt about it. But if you look at Vegas, the Dodgers still are the second highest favorite behind the Braves to win the World Series. But I do think it's an interesting matchup. It's a clash of different styles as far as they have their youth. They have some vets. Dodgers, it's a big disparity. Either they're really young rookies or they're guys who've had their skin in this game for a long time. The Freddie Freemans and the Mookies of the world. You would hope that talent-wise that the Dodgers will overwhelm them. I mean, you talk about this Dodgers team and the fact that no one expected them to win. If you ask GMs around this league, Danny, you know it's better than anyone else, is look, if you're going to draft players just that are in the postseason, you're taking Freddie and Mookie in your top 5 picks most likely. I think Corbin Carroll, I'd probably take 8 or 9, something like that. But you look at overall talent advantage, I think the Dodgers have that significantly in this series.
Oh, experience-wise, it's not even close, especially compared to Arizona. I mean, I will say this, that you look at how Corbin Carroll possesses or is composed in his interviews after the game, like nothing gets to this kid. So like the moment doesn't get too big for a guy like Corbin Carroll. Now, we haven't really seen enough of Gallen and Kelly, and especially that Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen. So yeah, it kind of goes back to what I alluded to earlier in that this team is really top heavy. And I'm not just talking about talent either. I'm talking about maturity level, just experience wise. We see in playoff time, you see teams like the Astros, teams like the Dodgers and the Braves, teams that have playoff experience. This is where it becomes paramount to have that on your team. Guys like JD Martinez, who has hoisted a trophy, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. This is going to prove huge dividends for this team when all of a sudden it's late innings and it's a 1-run ball game. You've had guys that have been in that position before. We saw Nathan Eovaldi absolutely shove against the Tampa Bay Rays. A lot of that is because Eovaldi has already pitched in these big time games before. So experience is huge. It's something you can't It's intangible, and that's something that the Dodgers have a huge advantage of.
So if the Diamondbacks to win this series, what do you think is the number one thing that has to go right?
The Dodgers to play just atrocious, to be honest. It's going to be more so the Dodgers beat themselves and the Arizona Diamondbacks beating them. That would be my guess. I mean, they have nothing to lose, so all the breaks happen to go their way. You look at the exit velocities. The Dodgers are hitting balls on the screws, but it's just going right at guys. It also, I should mention, they don't get deep into the Diamondbacks bullpen either. That would be because you want to get Kelly out in the fifth, sixth. You want to get Gallen out in the fifth, sixth, because like we kind of just talked about, that bullpen doesn't have any experience at all. And in a longer series, not a wild card best of 3, but it's a DS best of 5, you got to get deep into that bullpen, get those guys tired.
Yeah, I think that's going to be key too. The Dodgers, one of the best first inning hitting teams in baseball. They do a lot of damage that inning to set the tone, go over the throat early on. I think that's going to be key. But you said it best. Look, the Dodgers, there's no reason why they should lose this series. You talk about depth on the margins. That could help you if it gets to games 4 and 5. I like that advantage. I think everyone here, Danny, though, we are scarred from last year. We have PTSD, post-traumatic San Diego, after what happened down there against the Padres. You don't want to see that happen again. And everyone talking about, oh, it was the layoff. It was they didn't play a meaningful game in the last month of the season. Guess what, Danny? They won game 1 of that series. If Trey Turner doesn't boot a ball and if he makes that play in game 2, they probably go up 2-0. If they don't go on a historic 0-for-20 with runners in scoring position drought during that series, they probably win that series. If that 0-for-20 during that stretch was like 2-for-20, 4-for-20, they win that series and they probably go on to win the World Series. That's how that universe worked last year. So I think this team gets back to their winning ways. I think ultimately take this series against the Diamondbacks. I think the only way the Diamondbacks win is if Marte, Walker, Corbin Carroll, you get something from Pham, you get something from Gurriel. This lineup just puts up runs, and then baseball comes at you fast in the postseason. Before you look up, it's 3-0, 4-0, and then this Dodgers offense starts to press, and they start to feel the pressure from this Dodgers stadium crowd that when things get tight, they're tight like a drum, and I think that pressure, that nervous energy kind of permeates the stadium to these players. Also, too, I think the key is keeping runners off the base pass. You'll live with solo shots with Clayton Kershaw. You'll live with solo shots with a Lance Lynn. It's the walks, the singles that lead to those crooked number innings. I think that's the number one key. Can you neutralize this Diamondbacks offense? Because full confidence in this Dodgers offense. I have full confidence in the pitching. As far as you mentioned earlier, the bullpen I think is better this year. I will say though, Danny, I know you know this better than anyone else, is that the slug has gone down a little bit for this Dodgers team. I wouldn't say they're necessarily peaking at the right time offensively. Hopefully they're on their way to another wave to this series, but I got the Dodgers winning this one. I have them win this in short order. I think they're sweeping the Snakes. Give me the Dodgers on a sweep of the D-backs. You can throw out a prediction. I'm not sure if you want to. You can do college game day style, put on a Dodgers jersey or something like that. But you want to throw out a prediction for this series, Danny?
My question would be like, do the Dodgers have a mascot? Like, can I put a Dodgers? They don't, right? So I can't put a head on.
No mascot for the Dodgers, man. Hey, no Dodgers for the mascot. Of course, they did have Dem Bums, where the guy dressed up as the bum back in the day. So, but they had that for a year. Tommy Lasorda is kind of our mascot. He was basically the guy you thought of when you thought of the Dodgers, but no mascot.
How about write it on my shirt or something? Dodgers and we'll go 4. And let's not get it too twisted. Like, yes, I get the PTSD thing with San Diego losing last year, but the Padres had a lot more star power than this current Diamondbacks team does. If you allow Alek Thomas and Evan Longoria and Perdomo, if those guys beat you, you tip your hat. But you cannot, it goes back to our first point, you cannot let Christian Walker and Corbin Carroll beat you. Tommy Pham has not played well against the Dodgers in his entire career. Let him beat you. And if he does, let the baseball roll.
No, 100%. And the talent from last year's Padres team was significantly better than this Arizona Diamondbacks team, but it's a short series. It's a series that anything can happen. If you get a win early on, that changes everything. I think this Diamondbacks offense, though, is better than a lot of people really think as far as their firepower, and they're pesky, man. They get on base. They know how to generate runs. I like the fact that they play baseball almost like we saw 20 years ago, right? 25 years ago. It's a different style. So you got the Dodgers. Yeah, like I said, no mascot. Emmett Kelly used to be their mascot. He was Dem Bums. They have a guy that kind of dresses up like a bobblehead, but no mascot. Well, the Yankees used to have a mascot for like 2 days, Yankee Doodle. That was designed by the people that designed the Muppets characters. Go look that up. I don't know why that one popped into my head. But one thing I'm gonna finish up on, like I can't, get you in the mix and not ask you about Shohei Ohtani a little bit. Okay. I can't not throw out some Shohei Ohtani questions because I'm still saying my Ohtani prayers every single night before I go to bed. I think the position that he's in right now, my read on this situation for Ohtani is he probably has a very good understanding of where he's going to go. I think it was a really smart move by his agent to say, no, we're not just staying on the West Coast. We'll open things up, right? It's just about the fit in the team. But what is your read on where Shohei Ohtani's at right now, heading into the biggest free agency we've ever seen in this sport?
You know, I tend to lean on the side of I don't know if he really knows where he wants to go quite yet. All that we have to base our information on is what his recruiting was like when he first came over from Japan. And it was more so just the West Coast teams. He wasn't taking phone calls or meetings with the Yankees and the Red Sox. He did have a meeting with the Chicago Cubs, if I'm not mistaken. So there's that attachment. But I still tend to lean on the side of things of this guy wants to be on the West Coast. It's closer to family, closer to home. There's a lot of competitive teams on the West right now as well. I still don't see him going to like a Yankees, or I could see the Red Sox get involved. I think, like my co-host on the podcast, Will, has said they're already kind of planning to make their deal, or I should say, make an offer, I should say, not a deal. I think Seattle is absolutely going to be involved. The Dodgers are absolutely going to be involved. I don't think San Diego gets involved because they're trying to cut payroll at this point. And I think perfect fit, just logistically, San Francisco. They need a face of the franchise. They've been basing all their success on analytics and the Kapler-Farr anxiety connection there. They're turning the page now. Kapler's gone. I think they're going to basically say, here's Shohei, here's a blank check. You tell me who you want your manager to be and come take this franchise, to wherever it may come.
Yeah, just hearing you say it, I don't know if you saw that behind me, but you see that my soul just leaving my body, just hearing you say that. And look, I've been saying on this show for months now that is the team that gives me nightmares because, as you mentioned, they're a team that they've won championships. They swung big last offseason. They wanted Aaron Judge. They wanted Carlos Correa. They put out the money. They need a superstar in San Francisco because all those single moms are going to go out there and buy tickets to go just stare at Gabe Kapler anymore, right? So they need to put butts in the seats. And I think Ohtani, from a pitching standpoint, that park makes sense. From a hitting park, that move makes sense. So, yeah, I think that's a very interesting call. Let me just sell you a little bit on my Ohtani theory as far as this postseason. How do we tie in this Dodgers postseason with Shohei Ohtani is, if I'm Ohtani, I say to myself, look, I've been with the Angels. I've had the best player in the sport, although he has missed almost half the time since I've been there. I've had talent on that roster, but I haven't had depth. I haven't had pieces as far as young talent that's emerged. I think if you see this postseason, even if the Dodgers lose, let's say Bobby Miller pitches well, let's say Emmett Sheehan pitches well, Ryan Pepio, and he sees depth on this team, I'm telling myself, okay, the Dodgers, they have everything. You have superstar veterans. You have young emerging talent. That is what it takes to win championships. As far as to your point about him not knowing what he's doing, I remember I read a book about Ohtani, and it said in the book that when he was young, he wrote a list of things he wanted to accomplish, and it was very specific. He said, by age 26, I want to win a World Series. That tells me he's someone that probably knows where he's going, or at least has an idea. But yeah, I think it's all up in the air. I do think that the number one thing, he's at the legacy stage, right? I have the 5 stages of baseball players' careers. There's the, okay, do I belong stage? There's the, am I legit? Am I going to survive here? Then there's the, okay, be an all-star, then it's get the bag, and then it's the Hall of Fame. It's the legacy. If he wins a World Series, especially in a big market, it's going to be one of the most iconic moments in baseball history. This sport needs that. So I think the Dodgers have a really good shot. And look, there's a reason why you signed JD Martinez to a 1-year deal. You maintain that flexibility to go all in on Shohei, but do you still think he's a guy that will fetch over $500 million? Me, I think it's a no-brainer.
I think it'll depend on what he prefers, honestly, depending on what culture he wants to be a part of. I think you're going to have teams like Seattle and San Francisco that could backload a deal, but the Dodgers are not exactly known as a franchise that signs guys through their age 42 seasons, which could work in their favor. You see a guy like Freddie Freeman who's signed through, I think it's his age 37, 38 season. So they could say, look, and they did the same thing with Bauer too. It was completely incentive-based, and it was a player option type deals. You could say, hey, Shohei, we're going to offer you the biggest average annual value for 5, 6, maybe even 7 years. And you're going to be the highest paid player in baseball for 7 years. and come do your thing here while getting paid 45, near maybe even $50 million. Who knows? It's probably going to be the largest deal ever. I just don't know whether it's going to be total value or average annual value. I tend to lean on, if it's the Dodgers, it's going to be more so on the side of average annual value.
Yeah, I've thought about that as well. And everything's on the table with him, and he's going to hold the cards. I just think that there's going to be teams out there. I think that if Stephen Cohen wakes up one day and says, I want to throw $600 million at Shohei Ohtani, he has the ability to do that. If it's about the proximity to Japan, he'll bring back the Concorde, right? He'll find a way to get him to the Mets if he wants to just disrupt the market like that. To your point, though, about the Dodgers, I've always said with LA is they're not frivolous. They're sensible with their signings. Yes, you have Mookie Betts, 12 years, 365. You have Freddie that fell into their lap at 6 years, 162 million, which is turning out to be a phenomenal contract. You're getting peak Freddie Freeman, but you have to have that extra box to check off for them to give you the multi-year deal past a decade, right? And Ohtani has that. That sixth tool, that extra box is marketability. It's, do you sell jerseys? Do you put butts in the seats? And we know that Shohei Ohtani is going to do that better than any player in the sport right now. So I think they would be willing, when you consider the sponsorship opportunities, to go that big on Ohtani. I don't even think that it's a situation where you really have to throw out tons of incentives as far as innings pitched and games started, that kind of thing, because I just think there's going to be offers out there for him. I think winning is huge for him. I think that teams realize that if you sign for 10 years, he wasn't going to pitch 10 years. Okay, it's unrealistic. At the very best, maybe 5 years at the tops, and even then you can transition to a reliever. So look, I could get carried away. We could talk about Shohei Ohtani for the next 10 hours. Okay, I'd be fine with that. But Danny, busy day. Before I let you out of here, though, I don't know if you made your World Series prediction. You want to drop that one more time on this show just so we got it on record. And if it happens, everyone will clip it up and give you credit. If it doesn't happen, people will go the opposite way if it doesn't.
It's already looking brutal. I'm ready to light it on fire and toss it into the trash can. I have Atlanta. It was Atlanta, Dodgers, and the NLCS, and I had Atlanta going, topping them in 7 games. And then maybe this will make you guys feel a little bit better. I had them beating the Rays in the World Series, and the Rays are already knocked out in round 1. So that kind of gives, any type of ethical or any type of backing for that bracket. So I had Braves winning it all, and it's not looking great, the bracket right now.
Oh, man, that's unfortunate, man. Hey, I'll cop to this. I missed on 3 of my 4 of the wild card round. I mean, the Rays, if they weren't playing with COVID restriction fans, seating, I mean, maybe they would have had a chance there. But yeah, no, it's unfortunate. But I still think Braves have a good shot. I've got Dodgers, Astros. If we have that matchup, we want you back to talk about that series, because I think when you look at the ratings, what could move the needle, that's the series that Rob Manfred and the league office in New York wants. Dodgers, Astros. Yes, the characters have changed. We understand that. But I think that series is what I want. I know I'm ready to get hurt again, but I think that would be a cleansing if you could find a way to win that series. But Danny, we thank you so much for joining us here on Dodgers Dugout Live. Like I said, baseball fans, Dodgers fans, you have to follow this man over on the X at Danny Vietti. He'll keep you locked into all things baseball around the league. But Danny, thanks for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the postseason, my man.
Same to you, Doug. Appreciate you having me on, man.
Anytime, man. Take it easy. And now we're going to talk about what happened yesterday at Dodger Stadium. The team held a workout. You had 1,000 fans in attendance. They got a Dodger dog. They got a drink. It was a cool experience. But first, let's jump into some of those comments. And what are your thoughts on that D-backs series? I got the D-backs, Dodgers. I'm going Dodgers in 3. I can't take a 4-game series. I can't take a 5-game series. After last year, this team is focused. This would be an absolute failure if you lose the Diamondbacks. I know baseball is baseball. I understand that. But let's not forget, this is still the big bad Dodgers with the 6th highest payroll in Major League Baseball. You have Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts at their very peak. You have JD Martinez, one of the best postseason hitters in the sport. You got a resurgent Max Muncy. Will Smith, I think, needs to perform better. I think he's getting healthier. I think he's going to benefit from this week off. James Outman, he was great. I will say yesterday at the camp, at the practice session, James Outman made a phenomenal diving catch, and he got the loudest ovation. But I want to read some of your comments, then we're going to talk to you about DMAC. Come on, who is that guy? That's my man, Danny Vietti, CBS Sports, Major League Baseball analyst. We got Michael Carrillo. DMAC, you know it's going to go 4 games. Okay, yeah, I'm not going with what my brain's telling me. I'm going with my heart is telling me right now. So I could see that for sure. I could absolutely see this going 4 games. And the longer it gets, I think the Dodgers hopefully have an advantage with experience, but still, you got to end this early. Benjamin, 63-23, blue domination. Got to believe. There you go. I like that. Wouldn't follow that. We got Cody Bellinger, Dodgers, Astros, and Dodgers win in 7. Yeah, there we go. I got Dodgers in 6 because I want to win on their field like they did on our field back in 2017. We got to Jose. I want to see hunger in the boys' eyes. Yeah, now we go to this clip. Well, let's jump to this clip. I talked to Miguel Rojas yesterday in the Dodgers clubhouse, and I wanted to ask him, about this Dodgers chemistry. There's been a lot of talk about this chemistry, about how close this group is compared to years past. Let's play this clip of my question to Miguel Rojas about how close and tight-knit this group is.
We're still having a lot of internal conversations about it. I think no matter how it shakes out, we're going to have a really talented pitching staff. There's going to be tough decisions and probably some really talented pitchers that won't make this roster. And I think it just speaks to the depth, the number of guys who have really stepped up this year. We've talked about this in the past. We may have to approach it in a more unconventional way. But the arm talent and the depth that we have, we feel really good about.
Yeah, I think it's what it's lacking potentially in some experience we have in talent, but I think overall the group has performed really well, especially down the stretch. So exciting to see these guys get out there and perform.
There's variance that comes with that too. And we can attest to all different outcomes and scenarios. The thing is you go through a really long season to put yourself in the best position you possibly can. And we've done that in the sense of having a bye from the first round, having home field in this round. And as you get through the season, certain guys are going to emerge, injuries are going to happen, things are going to happen over the course of a season that we expect and we know will happen. And then it's about putting the best 26-man roster together. And we feel good about the talent and feel good about how this group has come together. And we're excited to watch them go out and compete. Obviously, we're not looking past the division series, but the division series sets up with days off and things that allow for different scenarios than we've been afforded in the past. This game 1 off, game 2 is different. We've never had that before. And I think those off days are an advantage, and we'll use it and figure out the best way to use that to our advantage.
That, of course, was Dodgers president of baseball operations, Andrew Friedman, yesterday after the team practice. And I think the things you need to take away from that is that, one, the Dodgers did put themselves in the best position. And that doesn't mean they won the National League. That does not mean they finished with the best record in the senior circuit. That was the Atlanta Braves. And what is the Braves' gift for finishing with the best record? With the injuries they currently have to their pitching, they have to face one of the hottest teams in the sport, the Philadelphia Phillies, a Phillies team that made light work of that Marlins team, a team that went to the World Series last year, a Phillies team that's played like a 100-win team over the last 4 months of the season. And I think the Phillies, the thing that scares me is, are they the Royals? Are they that KC Royals team that goes to the World Series and loses and then comes back the next year and wins? That is what the Braves had to do. The Dodgers is an advantageous position that they're in, an advantageous position to finish with the second best record, because now you play the lowest seeded wild card team, a team that you've had a lot of success against this season, a team there's a lot of what is going on, a lot of familiarity with this season. That's going to be the fireworks after the Dodgers win, after they put on their board shorts and floaties and jump into that pool out there in Arizona. By the way, I think that was one of the best moments in 2013 when they jumped in that pool. Puig dives in. I'm pretty sure a couple of guys peed in the pool. I'm pretty sure that happened as well. But yeah, it's going to be the celebration. So I think you look at what this Dodger team's been able to accomplish this year. They put themselves in a position to have that bye, to get fresh, to get rested. And other thing I want to take away from that is he mentioned there, as far as the roster goes, that you are going to have some talented pitchers left off this roster. Of everything he said yesterday, it's a lot of word salad with Andrew Friedman, right? He's a master at saying a lot without saying anything. But the one thing that you want to take away from yesterday is he said there are going to be some talented pitchers left off of this NLDS roster. Who are those talented pitchers? Is it the lefties? Is it Alex Vesia? Is it Caleb Ferguson? Will they go with Michael Grove? Will they go with more of the live arms? I think that is the big decision that they're dealing with internally, because I think the way it sets up with the injuries after what happened to Julio Urias, with the expectations as low as they've been in quite some time, that they're in a position where if they want to go for it and go with a live arm versus a more experienced arm, go with someone who is not necessarily a lefty matchup, they could go that route. I think ultimately they still will probably keep it somewhat traditional and go with an Alex Vesia and a Caleb Ferguson at the end of the day, and you'll see Ferguson used as an opener. Yesterday, Alex Vesia in the practice session, he ended up, took us some notes from that. He ended up giving up. He looked a little shaky at the beginning, but then he turned things around. Yeah, Wong hit a double off of Vesia yesterday. Colton Wong did in that practice session. But I think that you look at how untraditional this is going to be. That's another thing that you can extrapolate from what Friedman just said. And what does untraditional mean? Untraditional means that you are not going to see starters take the ball and go as long as they can in games. You're going to see starters and openers and relievers go as hard as they can, as long as they can. And I think that that is going to be something that's different this year than what we've seen in years past. Last year, the mentality was, okay, let's go in and let's try to get as deep into this game as we possibly can. Let's try to not tax this bullpen. Let's try to give them as much length as possible. Now you're just trying to go out there and get the next guy out and get the guy after that out and get as many outs as you can while you're still effective. But the minute you're not effective, the minute there's not a matchup in your favor, the Dodgers are going to go to that bullpen. And if you look at the bullpen this year, they're more experienced. I think they're more effective. You've got a Joe Kelly, who I think is the big X factor that we talked about yesterday. He's someone that has the experience, and he's pitching better now than he has throughout his career. You saw in 2018, he essentially carried that Red Sox bullpen through that postseason run. You have Ryan Brazier, who since he stepped onto the mound for the Dodgers, since the Dodgers added Ryan Brazier, they've been the best bullpen in the sport. Okay, so you have a better bullpen this year that probably isn't going to have the letdown that we saw in Game 4 with Alex Vesia and Yancy Almonte and Tommy Kahnle. Those three guys might not pitch in those situations, right? We know that Alex Vesia might, Tommy Kahnle's in New York, and Yancy Almonte won't be on the NLDS roster, maybe later in the NLCS roster. But for the most part, you are going to see the only traditional starter being Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller can handle it. They're going to let him go 5-6 innings as long as he's effective. But other than that, you are going to see piggyback starts. You're going to see Ryan Pepio in games going 4 or 5 innings. And I talked to Ryan Pepio yesterday. He's one of the big X factors. If Ryan Pepio, along with Bobby Miller, can be effective and pitch like they did in the regular season, this team is going to go to the World Series. I'm here to tell you that, because that is what we're waiting on. Can the rookies handle the bright lights? The vibe I get from this team, the feeling I get being in that clubhouse yesterday, is that this team is 100% ready. They're not afraid of the postseason. They've got a great organization behind them that is putting them in the best position to optimize success when it comes to data and analytics. You have Will Smith behind the plate that gives them confidence. And bottom line, these guys have stuff. It comes down to that. These guys are very talented, live arms. So let's go to that clip of Ryan Pepio. I talked to him yesterday inside that Dodgers dugout, and here's what he had to say.
There's been a lot of talk about how great the team chemistry is on this team. Just talk about that. And is this the best team chemistry you've ever had in a clubhouse in your career?
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get to that Miggy clip, though.
Yeah, and is it one of those situations where it's until you experience, you really don't know what to expect, and that's kind of the mindset, just kind of surrender to and just wait till it arrives?
Yeah, kind of just trying to soak it all in. I've talked to some guys about what their experience has been like, what's the difference, and kind of difference of views, and just kind of soak it all in. Has really been the basis message, and it looks like it's going to be kind of like your debut. Take a few extra minutes, look around, take it all in, and just enjoy it.
Yeah, you've been so effective since you come off the IL. The slider, the changeup has been ridiculous. Last start, 19 swings and misses, 16 via that changeup. What's the biggest difference with that pitch from year 1 to year 2?
I think just the release point. Last year's the arm slot was a little lower, so I just had to clip it perfect, and it would roll off my hand and just kind of be arm side. This year, the arm slot's back to kind of where it was a couple years ago. Being able to leave a fastball at the top of the zone, not running on me, slider down in the zone, and then changeup just dropping off the table off of it.
Yeah, and then the slider, the command overall has been terrific since you returned. What do you credit that command improvement to?
I took off about 15 pounds in the off season. Spent a lot of work in the gym, just kind of trying to get my body in better positions and to translate it to the mound. And just getting off the mound, just been more comfortable.
Just laying off that big Hoff's barbecue, right?
Dude, I get it every time I go home. I don't go home that often.
You gotta get the cheat meal. You can have a cheat meal around there.
I get
right?
one every once in a while.
Just how cool is it to have this success with guys like Emmett and Bobby Miller and Michael Grove, all you guys at the same time, get this opportunity, all having success? Like, how special is that?
No, it's fun. You get to do it with guys that you've come up and played many games with in the minor leagues, and just see them have the success that they have had. It's fun to watch. To be able to have a front row seat in the dugout and see those guys go out there and shove, it's fun.
Yeah, and as far as advice from some of the vets, as far as this postseason, has anyone given you any advice on what to expect for playing in October, just the electricity of it?
Yeah, I've talked to a bunch of guys about it. Just trying to get to see what kind of opinions they have and what their differences are. But at the end of the day, it's still the same baseball game. Yeah, it means a little more because it's in October, and you can go home. You don't have another series waiting after it, guaranteed. So it's just go in, soak all the moment in, kind of like a debut. Just take a couple extra minutes, is what most guys said. Take a look around the stadium, soak it all in, but then just lock it back in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same game, right? Baseball's going to baseball. But awesome, man. We'll say thanks so much, Ryan. Really appreciate it, man. Good luck this postseason. We're going to kill it, man.
Thank you.
Take it easy, bro.
You too.
That was Ryan Pepio, who has been a revelation for this Dodgers team. He has been the truth since he's returned. A 2.14 ERA in 42 innings of work, 38 punch-outs to just 5 walks. He's allowed only 10 runs in his 8 appearances, with the last 9 runs all coming in 7 home runs. So what to look for with Ryan Pepio is avoiding the long ball and avoiding those crooked number innings by allowing walks. So once that command gets shaky, if he doesn't have the feel for that fastball, then he could get into some trouble. But like you heard him say right now, the fastball command has improved. The changeup command has improved. The slider has been more effective. I'm very high on Ryan Pepio. I saw it earlier in the comments. I think it was Alex that said Ryan Pepio is a dark horse for MVP. That is an absolute hot take right there. But he's going to be someone they're going to have to lean on. He's going to have to step up in games 3 or 4. The swing and misses there, 19 swings and misses last start, 16 via that changeup. Like I said, his changeup nastier than a gas station bathroom. But really, it's going to come down to Bobby Miller. I'm so excited about Bobby Miller there in that game, too, that matchup with Galentine's Day, Zach Gallen. And Gallen is someone who's a surefire ace. There's no doubt about it. That's going to be the game that's going to decide the series as far as can the Dodgers make light work of it. If the Dodgers win game 2, I think they win game 3 because I think the offense comes alive and carries that team. And I don't think they look back if they go up 2-0. And Bobby Miller, 22 starts this season. He's exited the game with the Dodgers ahead and the score tied or the Dodgers down by just 1 in 18 games. So that stat tells you right there that he's keeping the Dodgers in games. If he's not winning, he's pitching in close games. He's someone that I think is going to go out there and be effective. And I think the number one thing you should look for when it comes to Bobby Miller is how does he perform when he issues a walk, when he allows a single to lead off an inning? Does he get himself out of jams? Does he stay composed and poised out there on the mound? Do you see swing and miss with that 4-seam fastball and that changeup? That's going to be absolutely key. But I think that I have no doubt about it. This Dodgers team, they're ready. And I think that aside from how great they are as a team, as far as how talented they are, and you look at their lineup, some pitching concerns, no doubt about that. They have the ultimate X factor, and that is their team chemistry. This is the most united Dodgers team that we may have ever seen. Dave Roberts has already said this is his favorite team that he's ever managed. And I talked to Miguel Rojas yesterday inside that Dodgers clubhouse, and I asked him about this team chemistry and how big of a factor that's going to be for this team's success in October.
been a lot of talk about how great the team chemistry is on this team. Just talk about that. And is this the best team chemistry you've ever had in a clubhouse in your career?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the combinations between guys coming from different cultures and different clubhouses, different organizations, different point of their life and careers make this clubhouse so special. And we connect really well on and off the field. And I think if you ask anybody in this clubhouse, this is going to be remembered regardless of what happened and the final result. Hopefully the result is a championship and we can actually come here 20 years from now and get together. But at the end of the day, I feel like we're doing everything that we can to kind of stay together, stay connected, and the chemistry is what's gonna help us to win the championship.
So you took the rookies out to buy them a pair of Jordans. If someone took you out to buy some Jordans, which pair would you pick?
I think it wouldn't be something cheap. I think it's gonna be something expensive for sure. But I will pick, I don't know, maybe a pair of Jordan 1s, off-whites that I won, Chicago's. I think I don't have that pair yet, so if someone take me out, I think that's the one that I will pick.
You ever consider taking the reporters out and buy them Jordans?
That would be great. If you was there that day, you would have been lucky because I got the photographer and the camera guy who were with me. I got them a pair too. So I'm pretty genius when it comes to take care of people. So next time you have to be on that trip so you can get a pair too.
That was Miguel Rojas. By the way, for the record, if he did take me out, I would have him buy me that Kobe Jordan 8 and Jordan 3 pack that goes for a big bag. But yeah, Miguel Rojas, I mean, that's just a small moment right there. You can tell he gives an actual reason why he said you come from different culture, different backgrounds, also different points in their career. I think that one can't be understated. You look at Jason Hayward coming into this team when everything fell apart for Jay Hay in Chicago. The Cubs said no thank you, and they're willing to pay almost $22 million for him to be gone. He goes to the Dodgers. He absolutely rejuvenates himself. He re-energizes himself, gets his career back on track. Jason Hayward has said that he would love to be back with the Dodgers, which I think would be fantastic. He's already made his bag. He's already shown that he can have success. I think he trusts this Dodgers coaching right now, and I think that he could be back. And then I think for this team as a whole, just giving these rookies confidence. I think there's a lot that's been made about these rookies and will they handle the bright lights. I think people need to realize that when you put on that Dodgers uniform and you're pitching in front of 40 and 50,000, there's already a lot of pressure on you, right? And what Ryan Pepio said earlier is you kind of got to treat like another debut. Once they make that debut, they're going to be just fine. But another couple takeaways I want to tell you guys before we head out of here is yesterday, I thought it was very interesting. It was the first time that I'd been to one of those scrimmages, those open practices where they're basically trying to keep a rhythm, catch a rhythm, and not get complacent heading into that NLDS. And I thought they did a great job. What I really liked about it is they made it very situational. And for example, when Brusdar Graterol was on the mound, you had a couple runners on base, right? Michael Busch was the only guy to hit a home run. He hit it off Brusdar Graterol. So thankfully, those statistics don't count because otherwise his scoring streak would be over. His scoreless inning streak would be over. But Brusdar Graterol thought he pitched well. You saw how nasty he was. He was hit 96 on the gun, got into a little trouble in his second inning. I don't think that he ultimately makes his postseason roster. I think he's still a little green. Another big takeaway yesterday, Colton Wong got a double off of Vesia. Kike Hernandez got a big double. The biggest moment of the day, I would say, though, was Freddie Freeman. He gets hit on the foot a little bit. It was a scary moment, and he basically faked like he was going to charge the mound against Evan Phillips. That was a light moment. That was pretty cool. David Peralta went down awkwardly with a swing at one point. That was interesting, but it turns out he was going to be fine. Nothing really came of that. I think you look at the pitching as a whole, it's just really about giving guys at bats, going through their routines. I think the camaraderie, it feels like there's a peaceful focus. I think everyone's relaxed. They feel more loose. A lot of conversations inside the clubhouse. I will say the biggest ovation yesterday was for James Outman. James Outman is becoming an absolute fan favorite. What we saw from Kike Hernandez a few years ago, that's what James Outman is now. You saw fans in the stands chanting his name. And what is he doing? He's waving at the fan all the way from center field. James Outman knows how to play up to this Dodgers fan base. He's done it well. Also, the biggest moment as far as cheers go went to James Outman on a diving catch there right at the beginning of the game. So fans love James Outman. Mookie Betts, he addressed the crowd before the game, and he told them that he expects a long month of baseball. And that tells you the confidence that this team has. He expects a long month of baseball going deep into the postseason. We need to see more tequila parties, right? And that's what we need to see from this team. More tequila parties after every series win. Reflect. But we're going to dive into the comments here for the last part of the show. Read just these comments. By the way, I saw a birthday out there. BC, your birthday boy, BC. Birthday boy to Noel Sanchez. Guy works here. Noise by Noel. Carnivorous Lunar Activity says, DMAC, one day you'll be doing shoeies of your own. Okay. Yeah. Shohei Ohtani. We need a new World Series clinch moment photo for the ages. Benjamin, that's a great point. I was actually talking to Jim Hill about this yesterday. LA icon, Mr. Jim Hill. I actually asked Jim Hill. I was like, when's the last time you ever paid for your own ticket at a sporting event? He couldn't even think of it. I mean, it's how long he's been in the game. But I was telling that to Jim Hill. I was like, man, this team has not clinched a World Series on this field since 1963. Okay, we need an iconic photo, whether it be a Mookie slam, a Mookie clutch hit, some moment. Kershaw, I mean, imagine Kershaw's reaction to winning a World Series. You think of some of these moments, Justin Turner with his arms up after hitting the walk-off off John Lackey back in 2017, Cody Bellinger's catch on Fernando Tatis Jr. there in the NLDS. But yeah, absolutely, this team is due for an iconic moment. I think that another thing I found interesting what Miguel Rojas told me yesterday is no matter what happens, if this team loses, they're still going to be close after this. And I think it's important to remind you that this team is going to look very different next year. This is prom senior year. This is the last dance. We're all going separate ways. Some guys will be back. There's no doubt about it. But J.D. Martinez, he could be gone. Jason Hayward, he could be gone. Peralta, he could be gone. Clayton Kershaw, he could retire. And when you have that, you have the advantage of saying, okay, we want to keep this party going, right? We want more tequila parties. We want to celebrate. And I think that the way that things have lined up, you got a draw that's very favorable with the Arizona Diamondbacks. You got that Braves team that's dealing with pitching issues that I don't think they have a true plan B if they can't slug. Phillies scare me. Flashbacks of the stairs and the rest of the game and Victorino and that Phillies team. I think the Phillies actually have the best home field advantage right now as far as their fans go. But Diane True says Jim Hill is very real. And Jim Hill was funny. He's like, we were watching, it was the Dodgers and the Dodgers. Yeah, the Dodgers in the blue jerseys, the Dodgers in the white jerseys. He goes, I think the Dodgers are going to win this one. So he was pretty cool, man. He was like, okay, I get it. It's fine. I was like, which one? I had the blue shirt Dodgers, but it was good times with Jim Hill. But we got warmer with these JT, DJ, TT. Just say no to DV. Okay. We got Cody Bellinger. I will never forget. We got some saved comments here. We got Benjamin says, who did you want last year in the NLDS? Mets or Pods? Honestly, I mean, I think the way that pitching lined up, if you watch the show before the postseason began, I answered that question. I said I wanted to face the Mets. I told this to Alana Rizzo when she was on the show because, one, the familiarity the Padres had with this Dodgers team. Two, how juiced Petco Park was going to be to play that Dodgers team, right? And then three, the top-end talent offensively scared me. And then four, I just didn't believe in that Mets offense because they were so putrid. And look, it's Max Scherzer, yeah, in the postseason. So I actually wanted to play the Mets last year over the Padres. And this year, like you said, you bring up a good point. You just never know. But a couple more here. We'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your Thursday. We're going to be back with you later for a live episode of the Blue Heaven podcast. So stay locked in. We're giving you guys wall-to-wall coverage all postseason long. So if you are not subscribed, be sure to do that. Hit that notification bell. More giveaways on the way. Mr. Seabad Kershaw, I love the smell of napalm at Dodger Stadium in the morning. Time to go to work. Yeah, Kersh was focused yesterday. I think he's in a really, really good place. I don't think you're going to see him used in a traditional sense. You're going to see him probably go through the lineup a few times. I did like what Jose Mota told us yesterday, though, that if Kersh is effective, let him go get the next guy out. It takes the variance out, right? Last thing you want to do is bring in a reliever that you don't know if he slept on the wrong side of the bed and doesn't have it that day, right? So I like that mentality is going out by out, inning by inning, trust your instincts on guys that have been there. So yeah, I think this is going to be a big postseason for Clayton Kershaw. I think that he's in a really good spot as far as not putting too much pressure on himself to be that guy. But this is going to do it for this episode of Dodgers Dugout Live. We'll be coming at you mornings, Monday through Friday. So be sure to tap in here, hit that subscribe button, hit those notification bells, and we're going to be sure to read these comments as well at the end of the shows and the end of segments. So keep those comments rocking and rolling. Mr. Seaback, you rock. D-Mac, it's playoff time, baby. The postseason is here, baby. That crisp October air means the postseason is here, right? I'm ready to get hurt again, right? I lost 20 on the Padres. Sweet from Benjamin. Rod Wilson said yes. DB Grainer have to plan on needing a 6+ runs for the Lance Lynn start. Yeah, like I said, I don't know. I want to put barbed wire around that mound if they play the Braves. I don't know if I want to see Lance Lynn within 100 miles of that mound, but I will say Lance Lynn, he's got some dog in him. But that's going to do it for this show, guys. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. Be sure to leave a like on the way out. Shout out to the fairy godmother of the Dodgers Nation live streams, Mrs. Diane Schroeder, rocking with us probably from Cancun somewhere, hanging with the Padres, right? Bruce Davis, D-Mac, let's go Dodgers Nation. Unleash Chug McCain. What up, Nando390? By the way, Nando, I read your comment yesterday. You said that your wife likes morning D-Mac show. So I think, tell your wife, thanks for rocking with us as always. We appreciate you. But thanks again, guys. Take it easy. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue.